Hello, and welcome to today's session, From Kitchen to Grocery Shelves. The goal of this session is for you to take your packaged food idea from your kitchen all the way to the retailer. My name is Jazmin Bolan-Wiliamson. I am the Food and Farm Business Coordinator here at Michigan State University's Center for Regional Food Systems in partnership with the Great Lakes Midwest Regional Food Business Center, and I will be your host for this session. I regret to inform that on July 15th, 2025, the United States Department of Agriculture announced the termination of the Regional Food Business Center program. The Great Lakes Midwest Regional Food Business Center will continue offering business assistance and programming through September 15th, 2025. We remain committed to providing assistance to farmers, producers, and food businesses that are needed to thrive. CRFS and the Great Lakes Midwest Regional Food Business Center partners will continue to support resilient food systems in our region. For more information, please visit the glmrfbc.msu.edu website. This session will be divided into two modules and will discuss the 7 key steps to move from kitchen to grocery shelves. Module 1 will cover steps 1 through 4, which are back to basics and what it takes to be an entrepreneur, business model, financial management and team, food safety and licenses, and finally, production space and preparing to scale. Module 2 will go through steps 5 through 7, which are nutrition labeling, shelf life and packaging, marketing, sales channels and meeting buyers, and finally, capital needs and financing. It will also include a wrap-up checklist as well as additional resources. Let's begin. The 7 steps from kitchen to grocery shelves. Step 1, back to basics. What it takes to be an entrepreneur. I want you to step back and envision what you want your business to look like. What really drives you to take a bite out of this crowded and competitive food industry? Why does your business exist? And what do you want to get out of it? What's your goal and mission? What does success look like for you? Are you going to be local, regional, or national? What about financial goals? And how big do you want to be? Is this a side hustle or a full-time gig for you? How well do you really know yourself and your working style? What are your strengths and weaknesses? And what knowledge and skills do you have to manage the day-to-day operations of a business? Remember, this is more than just making your product. All these questions will help guide you to better understand what your business will look like and what steps you will need to take to make your business viable. By asking yourself these questions, you will be able to see where there are strengths and weaknesses and be able to plan accordingly. They will also help direct you to what areas of your business you might need help navigating. Characteristics of a successful entrepreneur. While these are not the only things you will need to have to be a successful business, they are some of the most important. Being an entrepreneur takes grit. You need to have a winning idea, and you need to have passion for both your product as well as the business. You need to have a clear vision of where you want to see your business grow to. You need to have some creativity so that you can stand out amongst the other competing products. You need to do your research so that you are making a product and or service that is actually needed in the competitive market. You need to be really good at planning, everything from the initial startup phase to getting yourself onto the retail space. You need to be really good at communication, not just internally, but also how to properly communicate your product and the benefits of your product. You also need to be customer focused. They're going to be the ones that are going to help shape what your product will look like at the very end. You have to have a willingness to work hard. And finally, you need to have open-mindedness towards learning, people, and failure. Step 2, business model, financial management, and team. What are these elements? A business model is essentially translating your idea into how you make money. It is the basis for your business operations and your business plan, which is often requested for funding and financing. Business model examples are e-commerce and selling online, grocery retail, farmers markets, food trucks, and more. Financial management is about knowing your numbers and having the system in place to do so. It helps with knowing your business health, know if your sales income is on track, if your costs are under control, and how financially successful your business is at any moment in time. It helps with better decisions. Determine how to add or remove products and services, how and where to reduce costs to improve margins, when to move to a new sales channel, when to hire more employees, and more. It also helps with lender and investor confidence. Demonstrate that your business is making money. You have the ability to pay back a loan and remain profitable, and that you are stable. And finally, team is about having the right skill sets to manage all operations of the business. The essentials for any food business. You need to have a viable business model. And remember, a business model is not your product or service, it's how you make the money. You'll need to have a unique proposition, a market for product, service, and demonstrate ability to generate adequate cash flow, a location and production facilities, and a strategy and execution for branding, marketing, pricing, sales, and distribution channels. And finally, enough capital to stabilize and grow. Financial systems. Knowing your numbers and managing financial operations is critical. You need to have a firm handle on revenue, cash flow, cost of goods, and operating expenses, including paying oneself and staff. You'll need to have a system to manage business finances, POS systems, if appropriate, and accounting systems, like QuickBooks. And you'll have the ability to produce and understand financial projections, your profit and loss statement, cash flow, payable receivables, and all your assets and debts. And an experienced team, how big or small do you want to be? Do you want to be a solopreneur or have a staff? You need to have a clear vision for the growth of the business and demonstrated experience and capacity of the business owner to successfully manage, not necessarily do, all aspects of the business, including sales, marketing, accounting, and production. A team that complements the skills of the business owner. This can include business partners, staff, or a dedicated advisory team. Side note, what's a unique value proposition? It's solving customer problems and satisfying customer needs differently than the competition. The primary criteria of a unique value proposition is differentiation. It answers the question, if I'm your ideal customer, why should I buy from you instead of any of your competitors? It has relevancy. It explains how your business solves customers' problems and improves their situation. And it has a quantified value. Your business delivers specific benefits. Ways to make it defensible. How you are competing against large and existing businesses and brands in the same market. You have a compelling relationship to the customer. You're offering new solutions through innovation. And there's something specific about your food business, be it product, ingredients, varietals, packaging, availability, personal relationships, and customer experience. In short, why do you want to create this product? Being able to answer that question will help shape your unique value proposition. Side note, key to success, managing cash flow. This will include your revenue, cost of goods sold, operating expenses, your break-even point, your gross profit, and your net profit. There's a lot more to running a business than just adding up sales figures. Many food businesses think they're profitable because their sales seem to be good or growing. Understanding your cost of goods sold, or cost to produce, is critical. Most early-stage enterprises do not know or accurately track the costs of their products and services. Ensure your day-to-day operating expenses are not draining cash flow. Understanding these numbers informs owners the degree to which their potential profits are being eaten up by just keeping the lights on. Break even is the point where your money you're putting into the business equals the money coming out of the business. Many entrepreneurs do not account for all costs when calculating break even, particularly paying oneself or projecting the cost of a growing staff. To figure out the true break even, consider both gross profit and net profit. Gross profit is a company's total revenue minus the cost of goods sold, which will include raw materials, direct labor costs, and manufacturing overhead. Where net profit is the amount of money remaining after deducting a company's total expenses, including things like marketing and advertising. Why businesses fail? 1. Lack of market need for the product. If you're going to spend your time making a product or service, then spend your time making sure it's the right product or service for the market. Also take into consideration the saturation of that specific item in the market. Make sure that it can stand out amongst the many, many other competing products. Undercapitalized for survival and growth. Businesses fail because they run out of cash. Being able to track how much you're bringing in versus how much you're sending out will really help to make sure you do not run out of capital, and if you need to look into things like funding and financing. Ignoring the business process and issues of a developing company. Some of the most important components of an early stage and growing businesses are those activities like business process, fine-tuning the business model based on success and failures, and scalability. And your team. The more versatile that team, the better chance they have of succeeding. Teams must possess the ability to change and pivot, take a new marketing approach, rebrand the business, or even tear down a business and start all over again. To recap, the components of a successful business model will include what do you do and how you do it, your brand and story, your customers and their needs and how you are solving their problems, your market and how you fit into it. Is there a demand? How do you know? Make sure to do your research. Your unique value proposition and how your product's features and benefits, your competition and how you are different and better, your sales channels, your pricing strategy, your marketing strategy, and enough capitalized to stable and grow. Step 3, food safety and licenses. In order to sell your products in stores, you must ensure that they meet the food safety standards and regulations. Why do you need this? Most importantly, is to prevent foodborne illnesses. It's to comply with state regulations, and in short, to sell your products and services on the retail shelves. There are different licenses for different products, so you want to research which ones are appropriate for your business. Types of licenses include a retail food establishment license, a wholesale food processor license if you make $25,000 in gross sales or lower, a food warehouse license, and others. Not all food is equal. Foods that fall under the cottage food law are those that are a lower risk of illness and can be made directly in someone's kitchen for a direct sale. These include baked goods, jams, dry herb mixes, just to name a few. Foods that are higher risk for foodborne illnesses require commercial kitchen use. Higher risk foods include salad dressings, sauces, beverages, and all meat products. If you're unsure what category your product falls under, referencing the MDARD or the Michigan Department of Agricultural and Rural Development website is a good first step. For those that fall under the higher risk category, incubator kitchens are often the path many starting companies take in the early stages of the business and are a more cost-effective way to scale your product without having to front large investments to create your own kitchen space. Incubator kitchens are licensed commercial kitchens that are available for rent. Note that each kitchen's rates and times are different, so make sure that you research all kitchens in your area. With products that are higher risk, you'll also want to ensure your kitchen staff have processing-specific knowledge relevant to your product's specific needs. One thing to note is that when calculating the cost of your product, you want to include all costs associated while renting a kitchen. Food safety certifications. ServSafe is an accredited exam to demonstrate knowledge of safe food handling practices, hygiene, and prevention of foodborne illnesses. While not necessarily required, it is highly recommended. The certificate is valid for 3 to 5 years. The Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point, also known as HACCP, certification is a formal validation by a third-party body that a food business has successfully implemented a HACCP plan to identify, assess, and control food safety hazards, both biological, chemical, and physical, throughout its operations, and will be needed for things like fresh juice, meat, seafood, and yes, even crickets. The plan itself has corrective actions, monitoring and verification procedures, record keeping, and use with the standard operating procedures, also known as SOPs. The Better Process Control School is a program that provides mandatory food safety training for personnel involved in the manufacturing of shelf-stable, acidified, and low-acid canned foods, meeting the FDA and USDA regulations. So those are things like pickles, eggs, vegetables, and salsa. The costs for all of these certifications can range from anywhere from $175 to $400+. Also, MSU's College of Agriculture and Natural Resources does offer courses for both the HACCP and Better Process Control School program. On their website, they will also list training opportunities for ServSafe within the state. Document your SOPs, or the standard operating procedures. A standard operating procedure is a set of step-by-step instructions for performing a routine activity. SOPs should be followed the same way every time to guarantee that the organization remains consistent and is in compliance with industry regulations and business standards. SOPs provide the policies, processes, and standards needed for an organization to succeed. They reduce errors, increase efficiency, and enhance profitability. They also create a safe work environment and produce guidelines for how to resolve issues and overcome obstacles. So remember, there will be consistency, accountability, something others can follow, and a way to track staffing time. You're also going to need to know your inspector. MDARD, or the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, is going to be our regulating body for all food products. And as I mentioned previously, the type of product will determine which license you will need to have reviewed by MDARD. So make sure to research the website to ensure you have all the information you need. Step 4, production space. When preparing to scale, things you should consider are you ready to fill orders? Is your product ready? Has it been tested? Does your label include a nutrition facts panel, ingredient list? If you're running this business on the side of your job, you must be ready to process after work, on weeknights, and on weekends. Commercial kitchen rental time can be competitive. If your kitchen allows, you may need to process at off times. How many employees will you need to fill the orders? You might be better at sales and can have employees process your product. And will you be able to afford the expense in purchasing ingredients, packaging, labeling, amongst others various things? You also need to think of places where you can produce your product. Remember, you will need a commercial kitchen if you plan to sell wholesale, and, for example, into retail groceries. There are various kitchens you can use, but the kitchen itself must be licensed by the local health department. You will also need to consider the various costs associated with scaling. You'll need to think about ingredients, packaging, kitchen rental and co-packers, distribution, all the marketing, staffing, and the time away from your job, which is also often a loss of income. Some other considerations. Are there friends and family willing to help support your business? Will you need financing in the form of a microloan or line of credit or a traditional loan? And who will do the administrative activities for your business? One of the more major considerations you must take into account is your production considerations. Your recipe. Is it final? Your recipe should be ready to go. Once it's been tested, approved, and labeled, you cannot change it without starting the product development process over again. Has it been tested? Regulatory testing like the Process Authority Review, or PAR, may be needed. Have you completed necessary food safety courses, like the HACCP? Did your MDARD inspector approve it? Is it protected? Recipes are considered trade secrets, and you may need legal assistance to register it. Do you have your SOPs written so others can make it? And depending on your product, you might need specialized equipment, like a high-pressure pasteurization, or HPP, processing. It may be necessary to sell fresh juices and salsas in retail, and this will add costs and a competitive process. You'll need to think about spaces to produce your product. Remember, you will need a licensed commercial kitchen. Oftentimes, churches, schools, restaurants, and incubator kitchens are the most commonly used commercial kitchen spaces. You could also look into an accelerator space, which is the space you rent to process large volume on your own. Some may require a long-term contract, and you will need to bring your own equipment. Examples are Farm in Muskegon and Allen Neighborhood Center Accelerated Kitchen in Lansing. You might also think of using a co-packer or a co-manufacturer, which are businesses that process for you, usually sourcing ingredients and packaging for you. But you may lose control of the brands used within your product if you go through one of these avenues. They are often specialized based on type of product. For example, sauces versus dry mix versus gluten-free. They will require a minimum order and may require anywhere from 5,000 to 100,000 units for one run. This will have added cost and may impact your pricing strategy. Oftentimes, they may require 50% of the costs up front, and usually you will pay by the unit or hour. And finally, you might be able to own your own facility. Now, this one will not be an option for many startup businesses, as there is a very high need for capital to be able to build out your facility. So oftentimes this will be for more established businesses that have grown out of a local commercial kitchen or accelerator space. You'll need to think about your distributors. A distributor can deliver your product to the retailers themselves. It often will save you a lot of time. But we'll expect your product to be in 10 plus stores before taking you on as a customer. There will be additional costs that will be incurred and may take a 30% cut on your sales. You might look at going through buyers and brokers. A benefit of working with many co-packers is their connections to retailers. As part of your decision process to work with a co-packer, ask if they offer broker services. They're going to be that middleman for you to get you into more retail spaces. So it is a benefit to ask if they do offer those services. Sourcing. Ingredients can be sourced from big box stores, online, through a distributor, or from a local store or farmer. Big box stores often will offer consistency and quick to access if you run out of something. Distributors deliver ingredients to you, but may be higher in prices. And sourcing local will often be good for fresh ingredients and will support other local businesses. You also need to think of economy of scale. By ordering larger quantities, it will help reduce prices. But when you order larger quantities, you need to make sure you have the storage space available for such high quantities. You'll need to think about your sales, delivery, storage, and distribution channels. For sales, you might make a great product, but are you the best person to sell it? Demos at stores and/or farmers markets will be necessary to build your brand. Will you need to hire someone to run these demos? Delivery, after you process your product, will you deliver it? Or will you hire someone to deliver it? And can you deliver it immediately after it's produced to avoid storing it? And will you need a refrigerated or freezer truck to deliver your product? Storage. As a reminder, you cannot store any of your products or ingredients or finished product or packaging in your garage or home. Warehouse license may be needed and additional costs may be incurred. When you go to look at licensed kitchen spaces, please ask if they have room for storage. Some may offer some small amounts of storage so that you might not have to go through a warehouse in the long term. That concludes our presentation of Module 1 and Steps 1 through 4 of the From Kitchen to Grocery checklist. Thank you for watching, and please reference Module 2 for the rest of the session.